right now. Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for attending a webinar on a beautiful sunny day in Washington State. If it's not sunny where you are, great, but it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and we deserve that. We always want to have the little sun moments in Washington State. We're here for the WAFLT webinar, Focus on Proficiency, Engaging Tools for Blended Learning. And blended, we mean like we're going to maybe thinking like some of this is done at home, some of this is done in class, or it's all done at home, or it's all done in class. We try and blend that, okay? And what do we see here? I just wanted to remind you that this is offered by WAFLT, and WAFLT is our Washington Association for Language Teaching. We've got that association here in Washington State. There's lots of benefits to being a member. And if you click, you'll get this presentation in a little bit here. You'll be able to click on that, and that will take you to the Washington Association for Language Teaching website, where if you're interested, if you're not a member yet, you can always join and become a member. Okay, so there'll be a link there, but you've got a few reasons why it's important to join your professional language organization. If you belong to WAFLT or ACTFL or ATF or CLTA, all of those are just wonderful experiences for most of them. We're language teachers, you can gain so much knowledge from each other. I'm going to show you a quick little video, and I believe I have the sound on. If you don't hear the sound, you can throw me a yell in the chat room, but let's see if this works.
I can't, Catherine, is it playing? Because I can't hear it if it is.
That's, you know, it's just fake music. I'll tell you that. I should have said something, but. So that's our little introduction right there. We're going to be coming up to the WAFLT conference. That's going to be a virtual conference this year. And right now we've just offered out the proposals, session proposals. So if you click on this link right here at the very top, you'll be able to go to our conferences page. And what we're looking for are session proposals right now, and that'll be until August 21st. We know that's short notice. We've got a lot of planning to do for an online conference, but just to let you know, this is going to be held October 9th, technically is our awards night, through the 11th on YouTube and on Zoom. And we'll have a kickoff celebration for the awards ceremony on that Friday evening. We'll be having both pre-recorded presentations and live presentations, a town hall with our new OSPI supervisor, networking, office hours with experienced teachers. It's going to be our version of Apart But Together, which was the NFLC conference that was held earlier this summer. So if you've got an idea for a session, you can do that, either that you can do a pre-recorded presentation, or you can do a video chat so that you would be live with members as they have some questions for you. You can submit the proposal. And so we hope to see you for that version of our fall conference. This was going to be our conference year, with COFALT being the hosts. I believe if you look on our Facebook site, that COFALT is inviting us to attend their conference sessions as well. So their webinars, their professional direct development for free. So that's very exciting. So who am I? My name is Catherine Ousselin, and I'm a world language curriculum design and technology instruction coach. I teach in Mount Vernon in Washington, which is sort of snuggled between Bellingham and Seattle. If you need to get in contact with me, I'm on Twitter a lot. And I don't do a lot of Facebook messaging unless we're friends. So if you really do need to get in touch with me, email catherineku72@gmail.com is the best way to get in contact with me. So when you go onto my website, you'll see lots and lots of tools for technology and for curriculum. And if I showed you the entire website, it would take a couple of hours to get through. So that's why we're here for about an hour today. And we will go through some of the top tools that you might consider for this upcoming school term. So we want to identify and integrate those web-based tools and the digital apps for distance and world language learning and teaching. And then we're going to try and design some activities and experiences and assessments for all three modes of communication in distance learning environment. And everybody says as the first one, what do you do for interpersonal? So we'll take a moment here. Interpersonal is when humans connect, and we are not connecting right now in the same ways, correct? So I'm going to take a few seconds and invite you. I'm going to push you out to some random chat rooms and have you just quickly introduce yourself. Hello, what language you teach, and any one thing that was successful. And we're going to work on successes. Even if it was minor success, like you got a kid to show up for 15 minutes for a talk for you, right? We have a lot of issues and we're going to try and solve those, but I'd like you to know that maybe one idea that you have of something that you did during March through June was, it was just something you tried out. Okay, so you're going to take about 30 seconds to do that. And when I put you, welcome back. That was just fun being randomly chosen into a room, right? Did you feel like you had a real strong connection with these people? A lot of community building going on in about 5 minutes? No? Okay, we want to think about that when we're preparing for our students, is that if we're going to use Zoom and we're going to do the breakout rooms, is that you want to start with building, like, do you know anybody in this class? Is there somebody you want to work with? Sometimes, you get your kids who want to work together and you go, ooh, not a good match. But as we start up in this fall, we want to start thinking about that. How do we, divide these kids up and expect them to start talking all of a sudden? I mean, did some of you freeze up a little bit maybe? I don't know what to say. We need to be cognizant that our students are going to be going through that as well. They might be in a class with nobody they know. And if we start with those little icebreakers and get them going before we just say, now you go into that room and you speak French. Okay, that's not going to be a reality that they can just all of a sudden do. So definitely work with the community. And that you found somebody to work with. Okay, I'm going to go back to our presentation because you're pretty much here to learn about technology, it sounds like, right? I'm going to show you our first technology, just wow, kind of website for you, okay? And let's think about this one. It's called learningapps.org. And I'm going to put that into the chat so that you can see and you can click on that, okay? And this is a free website that can be used with computers and tablets and phones. And if you love Quizlet, this to me is even better than Quizlet. How can I explain that? Let me show you. When you have your account, you can make classes. So just like you would in most other type tools. And you've got a bunch of pre-made apps. And I looked through and I didn't notice if there were any Chinese. I did see some Japanese earlier. I do know that there's German. There are some things in Chinese. So that's good. So check out things that people have done. But what they have, these are kind of activities like matching pairs, group assignments, number lines, closed text, so that if you want to take a paragraph and leave words missing out of it. And you can do that with songs. You can do that with poems. There's lots of things to put in there. Matching pairs on images, I'll show you in a few minutes. There's the Millionaire Game. Everybody knows that one. Where is what? So if you're looking at geography, word grids, there's just a bunch of different games to play. So these are formative experiences, right? They're not going to be like make a quiz type thing. There are things that you can use. You can see, I've got a class already set up, I believe, like French 2. And then the students can, just log in with their Google accounts or their email accounts, and you can assign them activities. I haven't done much yet because we haven't started, but I was just working on creating a class, and then I can push those out to the students. You can embed these, and I'll show you my app so you can see that. If you're using an LMS, say like Schoology or Canvas, because I know Canvas is really popular right now, you can actually embed these activities right into your LMS. So let's look at this first one. This is working with nationalities, okay? And it's one of the apps I use. It was a matching one. So they're gonna listen to the audio and they're gonna click on the right person. So if we click on this audio right here, okay, so you heard somebody's identity and then they have to look at the flags. Already there's a challenge there because we're asking our students, do you know the world flags, right? And so their job is to listen. Okay, so she's Tunisian. Well, that's actually, it's a male. Okay, so now the students are gonna go and they're gonna find the Tunisian man because they can hear that Google pronounced masculine and feminine correct. And then, oops, I put it on the wrong one. And if they do that, you can unseparate them and put them on the right one. And it's right, so it disappears. So
Christine, can you make it so we can hear the audio?
Ooh, let's try that again. I thought it says share computer sound. Let's try that one again and see if you can hear that.
Je suis belge.
Could you hear that one? Okay, so I'm Belgian, and this one, I'm gonna find the Belgian and connect them. Now, I know that's weird because Belge, you can't tell if it's masculine or feminine, so I gotta find the other Belge who's around here somewhere, and he's hiding. Somewhere there's a Belgian man. Oh, there he is. Okay, oh, we put it on the girl.
Je suis belge.
Let's click on that. So you can see how the students are gonna know if they're right or wrong. Right there, it disappeared. And so you can put a bunch of those. That's just a way to get, you know, so they're recognizing the flags, they're understanding the nationalities. That's a lot of vocabulary. Let's look at my second one. This is a map. Oh, that's right. They changed that map. So I made a new one. Let me try it this way. Okay. So I had a picture of the United States and I was working with regional cuisines. So I'm going to be showing the students regional cuisines from around the world. But honestly, my students aren't really familiar with the ones in the United States. They haven't traveled a lot. So I'm going to be helping them with that. I found a picture of the United States and I put these little dots right there. That's pretty easy. Inside those apps, when you go to create app, you can make a little association. So if you look at, I clicked on Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then they have all these pictures of foods. So these don't have to be from the United States. If you were working with different regions in France, different places in the Spanish-speaking world. So they're gonna look at the picture. Okay, those are some tasty looking ribs. And if they think that's the right one, they would click on it. Let's see, this is a family favorite. Okay, that's the Walleye Sandwich. So New Mexico, not really. Let's see what else is there that looks really good. Oh, there's gumbo, right? So I've got that on there. And if I've got the right one, and this is green chili from New Mexico, right? And then if I'm done, when I've got all through there, so here's Minnesota, right? And I can click on the Walleye Sandwich because that's from Minnesota. So you see what I'm doing is having the students like interact with the pictures and geography. And then when they're all done, they click on it, and if they're right, it'll be green like that. And if they're wrong, it'll be red. So there's different types of activities. I'm going to show you one more. This is a closed text that I did. And so I inserted a song. Okay, this is a YouTube video. And then I left it out, but I offered them some choices because I didn't want to have to make them write in it themselves. They have to listen and then guess the right words. So you've probably done this with many other apps, but I'm just really impressed with how many different types that the learningapps.org does. This is like one of my first one, right? So let's listen.
Le chien.
Okay, it's saying dog, so they're just gonna match that up. And then
La souris.
there's the mouse. That was pretty easy. And woohoo, they know they're animals. But the really powerful thing is here's a QR code that you could send to your students. You can put a link to it. So in Google Classroom or whatever LMS you're using, you can also embed it so that you would take the whole activity and put it inside your platform that you're using. So like a website, a blog, or certain LMS like Canvas allows you to embed. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the share real quick and we'll look at the chat and see if there are any questions. There are some Chinese activities. What you're gonna do is in the search bar, you're gonna just put in Chinese and see if there's something. Can you grade them? This is more formative, so you could look at if they want to take a screenshot of how they did, or when you go to your student statistics. So if you make a class and you assign it to your students, you're going to get a report back on how the students did. So it's not going to be a grade because these aren't point values, but you are going to get like an idea of how they did. I just had my students take screenshots, or just like they grabbed their cameras and their phones and took a picture of it, and I saw that they were done. And I'll give you some ideas how I use this. Okay. How geography map. Oh yeah, there's lots of things you can do. Oh, who's got a pot of chile verde? Oh my God. So you can assign it as a homework, you know, but it's going to be a formative thing. So it's just something that you throw to your students. It's input. And that's what we're really working for in this distance learning, especially if we're in a hybrid situation. And then a lot of schools are going to be like, the students will be at home and then they'll be on campus. So if you've got that, can you shake your hand at me or put a thumbs up on the reactions? How many of you are remote? Totally remote. Yeah. Oh, good. Washington State. Yeah. So if you're remote, you know, that you can have your students kind of go out, do these things, and then maybe you've got a summative activity like a Google quiz or something else that you designed that shows that they did work with that, right? So that summative is going to be the proof, but the formative is practice, 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 practice. And I like to give them a variety of skills to work on, or a variety of practice opportunities to work on that. So let me look and see what other questions we have on that. Is it able to import content? Lisa, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question a little bit more? Lisa's son.
Yeah, so I just wonder, yeah, if it's able to import from Quizlet that I already created content.
When you make an app, okay, so you can see my screen, right? And so let's do this. Oh, that's a folder. I don't want that. I want a new, let's do one. Create app right here, okay? And we'll throw it in here. When you do that, oh my, it gives you an example, right? It says, hey, and then you go create new app. And you're gonna title it, let's just say food for the second. And then you're not really importing like a pre-made thing already, but you can copy paste things in. So if you do audio, or something else, you can designate the language, or you can do text to speech, and there are your languages. So I don't see Chinese or Japanese right now, but I know that they've been working on stuff. There's Russian, Polish, Dutch, but that's not saying that you can't use Chinese. But no, you can't pull stuff in from other platforms. Okay, you can copy paste from something that you've done, but you can't do that. Okay, any last questions on languageapps.org? Could they do this in teams? I don't think so. No, this is like individual work for the students. Can you get screenshots that you know that their own, I mean, this is formative, so I don't usually like get down to those nitty gritties, but however you think that you want to, you know, crowd control your kids, that's a good idea. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next tool. Are we ready? If they're embedded in Schoology, do they need to create an account? Nope. If you've already got the app made up and you embed it into Schoology, then you don't need an account for the students because you can see their work right in there. Okay. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to go on with the presentation. And remember, if ever you can't hear me or something's not working, you just unmute yourself and scream gently at me, gently. Okay. So there's a couple of things I wanted to throw out to you as we are working towards this remote, and this was through national like emergencies and school closures. We need to consider a lot of things as we do this, right? About Wi-Fi, multiple students on one device. What if parents are telecommuting? Their home life, is it a safe place? They have household responsibilities. You know, when we're designing all of these, you know, activities for them, we just need to remember that they don't have a lot of time like we expect them to have. So the screen time versus human communications, you know, if you've got those, we're going to be working so much on relationships in those first couple of weeks, that's not going to be a lot of content. Even for, you know, like an IB school or an AP type class, we're going to be working on that. And then hopefully when you get your kids to be more relaxed with you and with the situation, then you can add the content, and they're not going to be so anxious about it. So definitely with the proficiency benchmarks and expectations, you need to be gentle with your colleagues and students. Like If the French 1 teacher did not get through all those family members and the passé composé with être, oh my goodness, that's okay. You just start with your children, your students, where they are, and you blend and mix, okay? Focus on the feedback and not so much the grades. The SEER grades are going to count, but we're going to be really pushing out those formative activities with feedback so that when we do come to the summative, okay. Interesting for the AP, I saw AP Trevor on Twitter saying that the AP test is going to be normal this year. He's probably going to have to be changing that. Okay, so let's go on. So the interculturality and technology, that's one of my big deals that I have been so, in my whole 17 years of doing this, this technology training, is how do we focus on our interculturality first and have the technology support us. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 levels of what I did in the closure and the first closure. And I want to show you what my thoughts were. So when you get this presentation, you'll be able just to click right on that picture. And then there's one more. Which one is that? This one is going to be a few seconds to be slow. So there's 2 levels that I'm working with, and then one of them's novice high, and one of them's intermediate mid, okay? And this is how I designed for interculturality with my technology, okay? On the first one, I'm gonna go down here. This is a French 2 class that I saw in March, and they are novice mid-high. And right in March, around March 13th, we were supposed to be starting foods and what we eat at the school lunch. And they were going to do a whole exploration of school lunch around the world. What I've created here is how I shared with my students six weeks of material. And it's working them through interculturality and also helping them go up the grammar, not the grammar, the proficiency skills. So this is just a Google Slides. I like to make them pretty. I didn't go all Bitmoji. I just kind of made them interactive. And there's 1 slide per week. Now, the students didn't see all of those all at once, okay? So on the left, you see our essential questions. What are my food likes and preferences? Why do I like or not like certain foods? Okay, that is actually one of our can-do statements. And the second part says I can identify a variety of food and their food groups, and I can explain my preferences. Now remember, I saw these kids on March 13th and I just said, oh, let's look at food. And then I didn't see them again. So I had to take them from absolute 0 knowledge to hopefully something like intermediate, low, very novice high, okay? The first thing I did was to get them just looking at foods and vegetables. I have a website for them. I've had a website for so long, it's kind of silly, but it was just pictures, not really engaging, but it was there for them as sort of a reference so that they had some ideas of masculine and feminine stuff, okay? Then the next thing that they were going to do is a Quizlet. Everybody's used a Quizlet, right? So they looked at those food vocabulary and then they had some practice. Most of us have done that. If you haven't worked with Quizlet, let's get in contact and I can help you out. I'm going to close a few more tabs. But the third thing I did, okay, the third activity that I did was with Seesaw. And I'm going to show you Seesaw, and I would like to stop the share a second and just see with either reactions or hands, how many of you have heard or used Seesaw? Heard of or used Seesaw with your students in world languages? We've got 1, 2, so we've got a few. Okay, this is great. All right, I feel like this is pushed towards the elementary levels quite a bit. And I think that it can be used at high school level with a lot of success. So I'm going to show you kind of 2 ways that I use it, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, and if you want, we can take a few minutes. I can show you how you can join my world language teacher classroom, and you can be a participant in there and see, play around with it before you decide to do it. So I'm going to go back to Seesaw. And Seesaw is just, let me go like this. If you Google it, you're going to go to Seesaw like that, and you'll see web.seesaw.me. Okay, .me. So that's what you want. And you'll know you're right because it's there's a little butterfly. Okay, so it's a free account. And there are 2 types of accounts. There's free and then there's paid. I used the free account for something like 6 years with my students. I never needed the paid account. until this closure when I found out there's these types of multi-page activities that you can do. And that'll be my second part. But really, what all I would ever do with my students is this. They have, I would send something out to them. If we were in class, let's say, I would say, okay, guys, I need you to go outside and take a picture of anything with the color red on it. Okay, so they would walk outside and take a picture and they'd come back. Okay, and then they could do things to that picture. Or I could have them do a drawing. So I would be talking to them and I would say, there's a little boy, he's got an apple, except the apple is black and he's sad. So the students would be sitting there and they would draw the boy. This is the worst possible thing I could ever do. And here's his apple and it's gonna be black. Okay, here's a black apple. They could also just like, they could add a picture, like shapes. Like they could put a circle on there instead of that, and I could change that circle to black. How about that? That's a better apple. And they could resize it and put it there instead of that. And so, you know, I would be talking to them and they can do certain things with the drawing on there, okay? When they were done, they would normally just click that green check and I would get it and I'll show you what that looks like. But they could also write like a little, it's like they would say the boy is sad because, you know, or if they're a novice, they could just write the words, the boy, sad, apple. That's really novice, right? And if that doesn't look good, you can move it over, you can resize it, you can change the apple, you can churn it, you can do all sorts of stuff, okay? They could just label everything. Then if you really wanted to, you could have them record over their drawing, okay? So once they're done, they're gonna hit that green check mark. And there's lots of stuff to do. There are backgrounds you could put on. Oh, that looks beautiful, of course. Or more shapes. So you could do that. And you can, like I said, you can change the colors. There's so much you can do with that. But once they hit that green check mark, all of the students' work is going to come into one feed. And let's see, who can I show you? Let's look at, well, Ray just joined late. Let's look at Annika, okay? So Annika started with me in September, and this is her reading a book, and we'll get to those in a second. Here's her reading the book again because I gave her some feedback. There's some writing she did. But all of the students' work goes into a class journal, like a feed, and you can see everything the students did, everything throughout there. And if you're a teacher, you can like their work. You can leave a comment, either it can be written, or you can leave a vocal comment for them right here. Great work on this. You are seriously the best student I've ever had, right? You can also send them a private message so it doesn't show up. Like if they need to be working a little bit more on that, you can send it back to them. So you'll see all of your students' work in one feed, or you can just click on one student and you can see where they were in September all the way through the current time. There's a couple more activities and then I'll come in. They can take a video of themselves. Okay, so that's been really great. I know that's Flipgrid, but sometimes Flipgrid is a little bit too much for my students. They can upload a picture. So let's see, who should I upload? I'm gonna upload, oh my goodness, look at all those beautiful people. Let's just upload this, okay? Any picture that they have. Look at those beautiful waffle people, amazing. And so on here, you can type, you know, anything that you want so that you can upload a document. You can upload pictures. There's all sorts of things. One more, you can type a short story. And the fun thing is on this, let's just say we went to Google Translate, okay? And my students were working on c'est amusant, amusant. Let's do that. And so they copied it. You know how they do this? And they go back to Seesaw. Well, usually there's a way that you can tell that if they copy the paste on that. And I have seen different ways that students try to get around with that, but it's pretty evident when they hit the green plus, it makes a difference. But my note is empty. I better try writing something. So this is fun. So once they're done, they can record themselves reading their work. And then they would hit the green button or draft if they want to save a copy and come back to it later. And when it's done, I will see it in that feed and I will see all the students' work. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to show you. The link is just when you want to push a link to them to a website. So if I wanted to push them to the WAFLT homepage, very exciting page, you can push them there. And what they'll do is they'll get a snapshot basically of the website and they can tag it, they can write on it, they can add pictures to it. There it is right there. So that's what they would be looking at. So then they would maybe comment on what they see, okay? And again, they can change the color on that, they can change the size so it's smaller, and they can add their voice so that you can send them a specific website to look at, and it takes a snapshot of that website and gives them that. So I'm going to stop the share for a moment and come in and look at your questions, because I bet you have a few. How many? Okay. You can do as many of those activities as you want. There's no limit. Okay, so the second part I show you will be the activities, the teacher planned activities, but those are basically push out the information and then the students give it back to you. One way I would suggest that if you've got Google Classroom or if you're using Schoology is to make an assignment, and you would say, hey kids, go onto Seesaw and find a picture, take a picture, go outside of your house, amazing, with a mask, okay, and take a picture of something that you see, and then you could have them write or draw or tag it or whatever. They're going to work on that and then send it to you. But it's going to show up in Seesaw, but you pushed the assignment out in the Seesaw, in Google. I would just make that an announcement if you're using Google Classroom. They don't blend together necessarily, so you kind of go back and forth and say, should I use it because I have to use two platforms? Yeah, because you cannot do that magical stuff inside Google Classroom. Absolutely with Canvas too. You're going to make an assignment or an announcement and say, go to Seesaw, do the work, and when they hit the green check, you'll see all of the students' work inside Seesaw. And then you can come back to Canvas and assign the grade or whatever you're doing with it, okay? Yeah, you can change the comments, Cheryl. Like you can make it so that you can only make comments to them, or the students and you can make comments, or you can send private comments to them. To get to Seesaw, you're going to make classes. Nina, I saw you earlier on Facebook, Nina. It's good to see you here. They're going to make, they can use their Google sign-in or their email that they're using from school, and you have them join with a class code. And I'll show you what that looks like for reals, because I know that that's important. Let's go to the teacher professional account. So this is one I made for teachers. So when the students are going to join, they're going to get the app, or they can use a Chromebook, a tablet, a phone, whatever it is. They're going to sign in as a student, and they're going to use their Gmail or their student email, whatever you have. And then you've got a code for them. And this code changes every 7 days so that you don't get freaky, weird students in there, okay? You can sign in with your Google account, or you can make an account with your email address and password, okay? Or you can have them do a sign in with a QR code, but since we're not there. And here's all the things that you can change. Like here's the student sign in mode. And then manage students, so that if your students change classes or they are in the wrong class, you can do that. You can invite the parents to participate, and that way the parents see only the students' work, their own students' work, not everybody's work. They would only see their child's work. Here it is, student likes and comments. Okay, so they can enable that or turn it off. It depends on your students. New items require approval. Yes, of course, because sometimes kids are silly, and if they take a picture of something that's inappropriate or do a recording that's inappropriate, you can look at it first and send it back and say, gotcha. This is enable family access, so the families, you can invite them. Okay, so here it is right there, how you invite the families, and they have Spanish, Russian, and a couple other languages to do that with. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you can do. You can archive the class. You can do lots of stuff, okay? So that's the question. I'll come back and look for more. Private comments are available. You can do rubric. I mean, like, this is another formative thing. So basically I look at it and see how they did. If it's a summative, and I do summative with that, is like I have a performance rubric that's a 1-point rubric. Have you ever used 1-point rubrics where you've got the expectations in the middle? You show like, these are the things you were really strong on, and these are the things that you're going to work on. And I always send it back because in my grade book, in my world, students are always working on what they did to meet the benchmarks. Okay, the performance goals. Okay, I don't do points like didn't use the right accent or didn't use the grammar correctly. And then like almost meeting. It's pretty fluid with us, especially in this time. I'm not there to absolutely work with everything. But I want to show you the second aspect of this. Okay, if you have the free account, you can do this, but you can only use 1 page per activity. You can make multiple activities, but you can only have 1 page in it. And I've made sure that my district bought this for me. I had their free version for a while because I just wanted to see what it looked like. And this is my French 2 group still. So these are the 2 activities that I made. And I'm going to start with the lowest level one really quick. And I'll go to the edit function just to show you what it looks like. It's kind of like Google Slides. I'm going to put in some information. So this is food and my food group preferences, or excuse me, my food preferences. And so I gave them the directions in English. This is what you're going to do on page 2, page 3, page 4. And you notice I wrote them in English because we were in a distance situation. Okay. And then I made a little template for them to work on. So this is like Google Slides. And if you look over here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. If you're using the free version, you only get 1 page, but you can actually do a lot on 1 page. And then again, I gave them the directions. So I used up a whole page just for directions. So on this first activity, all they're doing, this second page, is they're looking at pictures that I found of food groups. And I made little text boxes because they're a little hard to read. And I put those up there. So all they're doing is looking at this. Okay, this is going to be an interpretive activity. Then I made a little table for them and I uploaded some pictures. And to do that, you just go to upload. And then I had a whole bunch of food pictures on my computer. So I just put those in there. And when they get the activity, they're going to have to look at the food group. This one says vegetables, and they're going to drag them over and then they're done. And they're going to do that with all the different food. So this is very basic because here it is right there. There's the vocabulary. And now they're proving, they're showing, they're demonstrating their comprehension. This is low-hanging fruit. The 4th page is the sentences. And I've given them the stems. I like to eat. I don't like to eat. I've never tried. And I even wrote that on there so they knew, okay? And I refuse to eat. And then I had all the feminine foods on one side and all the masculine foods on the other. And their job is to drag it over, okay? And explain, you know, maybe they don't like mangoes because that would be a weird child and I love them. When they're done, you see the little microphone. That's just a little icon that I uploaded, okay? I had that on my computer. I found a mic icon. And so now their job is to record their voice, okay? Or I can record mine and it says, hey guys, don't forget to record your voice. They're gonna read the sentences that they made, okay? So when they're all done with that, they click the green check, right? And that would be assigned to them. So they would get that, it would pop up as an assignment, as an activity. And I'm gonna show you what it looked like for the kiddos when they were done. Let's see, who do we have? Someone that had a really strong voice so that you can hear. Let's go down to Ray, okay? So Ray, all I do is when I'm checking them, when I'm assessing how they did, oh, I need to do this one because that's one we're working on, is just, okay, the first 2 pages don't matter because they didn't do anything. Okay, so here Ray sorted the fruits, vegetables, meats, and everything. And I got to write Ray a little comment back saying, hey, Ray, actually, peppers and zucchini, those are actually fruits because they have seeds, you know, given a little education there, right? So I gave her a private message. So I said, I've got a surprise for you. Okay, so that was all that I did for that page was feedback. And then the last thing, and I hope that the sound is still working, so let's just double check. Share. Okay, let's listen.
J'aime bien manger les bananes. J'aime bien manger les fraises. J'aime bien manger les pommes de terre. Je n'aime pas.
Okay, so I'm gonna hit stop share a second. That was a French 2 student. Amazing kiddo, right? We just get all excited because I hadn't heard her voice for 2 months. And now I get to listen. So now what I'm doing is all they had to do is drag those food words over and make a sentence. I like, I don't like. That's novice level presentational speaking. They did the interpretive reading with the food groups, and now they're doing the presentational speaking. That's formative. It could be summative in a different world, right? What kind of, yeah, it's all, it could be, you decide how it is. Yes, it's so cute. So that's activity for the first one I did. I'm going to show you the second one because what I'm doing is bumping them up a level. I've said, hey guys, it's great that you can say, I like peaches, but nobody goes around and just says, I like peaches, because the natural question is, why? Right? So I said, in this one, I'm going to ask you to move yourself up a little bit. So let's show you how I did that. If you look, so that's all the kids did on that first week, right? That was, they did the activities, they practiced fruits and vegetables, and they used Seesaw as kind of the summative activity. I also put some videos in there for them so that they could hear, so that they could get some interactions. They're in French, they're real basic, they're cute, and they definitely give some more input, okay? So it was all about foods, okay? So in the second week, I can explain why I don't like or like foods. And what I did was is I gave them just some vocabulary. And it says, let's talk about describing food that we eat. So here's crunchy, and I gave them masculine, feminine. Okay, here's squishy. So I gave them some vocabulary just for them to look at. And then I recorded myself making a video. Oh my gosh, shall I share my video? Look at there.
Bonjour.
So I'm giving them the video of me explaining how this whole like masculine, feminine thing works. Plus I put in another video for them with fruits and vegetables, okay? Then I said, okay guys, I've told you some new vocabulary. I've given you some reasons why and why not you like foods. Now you're gonna do the second Quizlet activity. And that one I bumped them up. And let's go back to the activities. It's very similar, but I had them level up on that one. So let's go to edit. Oops, I don't want to do that. Add an activity. Okay, so this is activity 2. So it says, hey, we're leveling up to novice high today. You are capable. You are awesome. Okay, so I got them all set up. I gave them the directions. This is what you're going to do. And then here's the slides. So just reminding them what we saw here with masculine, feminine. We're also just getting another review, right? So this is just reminding them that there's masculine, feminine, there's numbers. The next activity, I made another T chart for them again. And here's all they had to do is look at the and the feminine. So we have that in French and Spanish, and there's in German and Italian. I don't know about other languages. So all they have to do is drag it over. And honestly, look, it says le right there. It says le right there. If they can't match that up, I cannot help that child. That's all they had to do. Is I was just reminding them by what they saw on this page and this page. Now here's the proof. Okay, it's just a little quick comprehension check. On activity 2, they're going to be getting a lot more advanced, and I wanted to make sure that it was super easy for them. So if you've seen me present before, I usually have the little cards that have orange opinion statements, blue masculine foods, yellow feminine foods, and I have because they are statements. So I did the same thing, except I made it a drag and drop. So here are all their opinions that we used from the first activity. Here are masculine foods. Here's our chunk because they are. There's some positive reasons and some negative reasons, and that they got from our practice, and they're gonna make a sentence. So they're gonna go, I like avocados because they are delicious. Okay, so they took one thing from each from each section, and they made a complex sentence with a reason and a descriptor. That's hopes. Haha. I want to pull that one back. And so what they're doing is creating language, right? With that, that's more advanced instead of saying just I like. So we'll put those back because I don't want to mess those up. And then when they were done with making those 4 sentences masculine version, they recorded themselves saying it. Okay. I did the same exact thing for feminine. I like, there's the foods, because they are positive and negative, and they drag them over, and boom, there's our activity. And I'm going to delete that because we don't need any of those. I'll come back for questions in just a second, but if you look at the journal, okay, so here's my students who did this. We can look at Pablo. Okay, here's Pablo's work. He didn't have to do anything for the first 2 pages. Here's him, he did the dragging and dropping. He's got all the le and the la, right? And then I come onto here and I hear his sentences.
J'aime les avocats parce qu'ils sont délicieux.
Okay, so now I can hear him. He made like novice high sentences and he can say them. That's what we're doing. I mean, I can't be there for them. So we got some interpretive, we got some presentational, and we're set. So how do you feel about this? The question about exporting, it's not an export. You're going to have 2 different platforms. You're going to tell your students on Canvas, guys, go over to Seesaw and do this. And once they log into Seesaw, they'll see the activity that they're supposed to do. Oh, Pablo, you guys, he has a stuttering issue, and he is so brave. He's a Spanish speaker, he's a Mixteco speaker, he's an English speaker, and now he's a French speaker. And he does amazing things. So thank you for liking his accent. I will tell him, every time I speak to Pablo, I say, Pablo, tu es incroyable. That's his thing. He knows to say, je suis incroyable. He's incredible. Okay. But what kind of questions others do this? We've got 4 minutes left. You know, I might go over because I had everybody in the chat room. If you don't want to stay in the extra 4 minutes, okay, I'm recording this so you can come and see the other tools that I'm doing. How long did it take me to make this, Megan? Okay, that was a good question. Like 15 minutes to learn. No, seriously, it did. It was like 15 minutes because I played with it first and then I got an idea. I watched other teachers' videos like, oh, if you go to Facebook, evil Facebook, there is a whole Facebook group, and I'll show it to you, for the Seesaw World Language teachers. And they share all of their activities, so you can just go and grab other people's stuff. That's an amazing thing you should know, is that when you go into Seesaw and go into the activities, you can search for other teachers' activities. They have a whole sharing place. Let me see where those are. Just a second. I forgot. Activities. It's in. Okay, I will find it. Okay, browse right there. It says browse activity library. Okay, so other teachers have made things. So if you go into German, okay, and then you're going to see all the stuff the German teachers have made. And if you like it, you can like it, and then you can assign it to your students, and you can edit it. Okay, so that's a big thing. Like once you grab it into your library, here's your library, you can grab other people's stuff and edit it and then assign it to your students. Okay, so I'm also going to show you the Facebook group, and you know, go ahead and look at my Facebook. It's all open. So you go to Seesaw and I think it'll pop up here in just a second. Seesaw for World Language Educators. And my super amazing colleague named Nathan Lutz, he runs this group. Okay, there he is right here. And here's the spreadsheet for all the different activities that teachers are sharing. And you can sort it by language. Okay, so if you add one to it, then we're magical. Okay, so that's the big thing. Yes, Nathan is amazing. He's over in New Jersey. He and I have been just sharing ideas back and forth. There's also so many tutorials on YouTube of teachers using this on how to use it. Okay, so I just asked to join. Good, Kristen, good. Okay, so any real quick questions that you want to mute yourself and ask about Seesaw? So I've given you two so far, the learning apps and Seesaw. One's really like basic and one's very powerful. I really like the idea of having that digital portfolio for the students so I can see all of their work. I can invite my administrators in and say, I swear these kids are working. Okay, you can show it. Okay, are the students' recordings private? You can decide if you want other students to be able to see that, you do that in the settings. Okay, and if you want it just so that you see it, you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to go on in the presentation, except I'm going to share the presentation here real quick because some of you need to go and you're going to be in the chat in just a moment. Let's pop it up here. Okay, so we'll copy the link, and I'm also going to put this on the WAFLT the WAFLT webinar website so that you can see that from there. Okay, let's pop this chat open. It'll be easier if I do it that way. So here's the link to the whole presentation. There's about 25 more tools. Seesaw, I really don't use rubrics. You're going to hate me because I'm not a rubric kind of girl. I just give a lot of feedback to the students. I use it mostly as formative. I'm sorry, Smiley. Okay. If you want, if you want to write me some emails, I'll send you onto my website where you can see some of my rubrics that I make. Okay. So since we're there, that was how I got through the weeks of the interculturality. So the students went through each week, and they had activities to do that brought them up to a higher level of understanding of what it's like to have school lunch in other countries, even though we weren't having school lunch either. Okay, so there you can look at those, hopefully, and get an idea. I did the same thing with French 4 and 3, where I had them looking at foods from around the Francophone world plus geography. So I made those, and you're going to find both of those links on slides 9 and 10. So you can kind of go through and see how I designed this interculturality for my students. Okay, I'm going to take 4 more minutes, and then I'm going to show you maybe one more tool, because most of you have done Edpuzzle or TeachVid or PlayPosit, or you've put stuff in Google Forms. If you haven't used Google Forms with videos, it's a great way to be more intrusive. I want to say perhaps you've got more question options than, say, Edpuzzle. Okay, if you're a Spanish teacher, I did see a few Spanish teachers on here. There's a listening library where she's used Flipgrid and recorded people from all over the Spanish-speaking world, and that way you can listen to different conversations or descriptions. Laura Sexton's amazing. We don't have time to go into this. I've got a link right there where it says Mad Libs with Google Forms, and I've got a tutorial on how to make that. And some of you saw this already. The last thing I want to show you today is how you can use social media with your students and how it can be safe. And there's a whole presentation for you to look at when you click on that link. And I just want to throw out some ideas for you real quick on the types of the accounts that you would follow either on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever you're going to use. Snapchat isn't that great. But if you've got some ideas about how you can safely use that with your students, that might give you an idea on how to create more interpretive and presentational activities for your students. So you can take screenshots, you can save pictures. There's all sorts of ways that you can integrate social media now into your classes and in the different modes. Okay. I think most of the stuff you've done. Oh, if you want to stay for longer, I will take any time and answer any questions. The one last thing I was going to talk to you about, and it's because it's 5:05 and I don't want to grab you, is Screencastify with storytelling, so that you can do a lot of presentational writing and speaking with your students. So if anyone wants to stay on an extra 10 minutes, but I'm open for questions right now. I'm going to be doing the WAFLT conference. I'll be doing a Ask Catherine Anything session. Also, I guess that's from Reddit. If you, as a WAFLT member, need one-on-one consultating on how to do anything with technology or unit design in the remote thing, you can write me an email and we can set up a Zoom like one-on-one. Okay, I'm offering that for people who live in Washington mostly and who are WAFLT members, because that's an advantage to this. But I'm available, and I know that Megan's seen me working in person. She's like, yeah, she's okay. She, you know, yeah. And then I know Rhonda's like, I've known that girl for too long. She just needs to get out of my life. But no, I'm okay. I want to know that you feel confident after seeing this, and that you've got the link, right? You've got the link for this presentation, and I'm going to put it in there again so that you can go through all the tools, and I've given you examples. Oh my gosh, I see Spider-Man. That is incredible. Yes, I've never, oh my, I feel special now. What are the questions? If you want to unmute and ask, please, we love you too. Oh, Lisa, I love you so much. Oh my God. Big questions. Can you show us the 1-point rubric? Oh, I'll try. It'll take a few seconds. That's a good one to look at. Here, 1-point rubric. I'll share my screen in a second. I just don't want to, throw you out there. One of my favorite people to explain this is the Cult of Pedagogy, right there. And you can click on that link in the chat. She explains it probably a lot better than I do. A lot of teachers use that as kind of a formative or even summative rubric. It's just like you list your expectations in the middle, and then on the left and right, it's delta and some other Greek letter that I can't think of right now. But it says like strengths and things to work on. You're very welcome. And if you do have to go grow or glow, ooh, I love that. That's the most sexy. You definitely can click off, and you'll be getting a notification when we share this whole video so you can watch again. What else? Questions? Can we export the grades to see? So Seesaw doesn't grade. Okay, you don't grade at all on Seesaw. You just look, you think about it, and then you can put your grades on whatever Schoology or Canvas or Google Classroom. Okay. Well, Tina, thank you. That's very kind. Oh my gosh. Feedback is my most important thing. If we're going to teach kids to be point grabbers, that's what they're going to play that game. So I always just do a lot of that. So if you look at Zoe, she's pointing us out some stuff. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and on Facebook, and we have a budding YouTube channel. So look for us on YouTube and follow us. We're going to be putting all of our webinars there. Thank you again, and I'll probably stop the presentation recording for